problems we cannot fix, and must we admit we cannot fix them? What is a human right? What is a human privilege? What is the difference? Can we change deep social paradigms? Can we right the injustices caused upon many peoples? Can we admit that injustices were in fact injustices? Or do we need to define the words injustice and justice again? What is free speech? What should be allowed? What should be banned? What is allowed? What is banned? What is right versus what is wrong in speech? Is there such a thing? Can we know a limit before something is said? Are we ready to debate a person in a topic we despise? Are you willing to do a formal round-style debating, where one will be called out for creating personal attacks and not focusing on the argument and topics, their evidence and rationales presented? Sure, some do not have evidence or rationales. Are you still going to allow for free thought? Can we see beyond the curtains those who would be pulling your strings? If you are indeed a puppet, can you see your strings, your puppeteer, and what their intentions are? Are the TV, internet, and other mediums your source of entertainment, or your way of staying disengaged? How many cat pictures will be liked on social media before we awaken to the picture of something like the percentage of homeless veterans? Can we end war? What would that take? Can we climb out of the cave? Or are we always going to be ignorant to the fire, raised walkway, and outside world? It's time to stop being afraid to discuss theories. It's time to stop making assumptions. It's time to make a better world, and it starts by asking questions. Thanks.
Oh. Woo! All you gotta do is put that
All right. It's time for Ed Melendez. And then let me see his anonymous. There you go.
This is by Anonymous. No, just kidding. Arundo by Stephanie Manning. Dan Brady seeks the light, so he can see and think and write. But sunshine eludes on this great day. Thoughts must wait to have their say. The sky be gray, the paper white. It seems the poets need to fight. Resist and so ideas take flight. Their observations, potter's clay. Dan Brady seeks the light. So much to say the children's plight, so much to fix that isn't right. The rich must be coerced to pay for people that they cast away. And as earth breathes in the night, Dan Brady seeks the light.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie.
All right, these next two I wrote a couple of days ago. Seagulls. Sunlight and shadows fall on buildings and on me, passing quickly like today. Streets darken, but bits of sunlight remain. Somewhere above us, seagulls fly high. Moments. Grass, wet with dew. Trees, stained by earth. East London, waking up. I'll start over.
Start over, yeah.
Moments. Grass, wet with dew. Trees, stained by earth. East London, waking up. We walk across Hockney, thinking of tasks, of travels. Time for a cup of tea. Stop to wait for the tube. Split up and go our ways. Train comes to take me and my moments.
Oh.
All right, this is the last one, and so I've been writing a whole set of poems about my grandma. Selections. She would stand and look out to the sea, and then to us. She would smile, my grandmother, before she spoke. Spoke her selected words, both kind and insightful. The sea is calm, boys. You can swim. This particular memory disperses in my mind. Blank paper, white canvas. What more to be said, remembered. Grandmother holds out her hand as we walk towards the Big Bend. Rain starting to fall, fumbling for our umbrella. Shelter near. Ben chiming the hour, Thames flowing, like us, with time, with movement, fade out. Is this a remake of the film that was childhood, played out by a kindly actress, my grandmother? Or is this an ideal of a subject that says, innocence, new scene, is there more truth to be said? I look at my refrigerator, a postcard with Elvis on it, stays and plays with an old magnet. The card is old too. I turn it over, the beautiful cursive, her words linked to my heart, the sweetness of loss, the taste of remembering, selections of many experiences, this ongoing eulogy of lost things.
Thank you, Ed Melendez. All right. That's Bob. What's his last name? Dewhurst.
Bob Dewar.
Bob Dewhurst, give him a round as he comes up here. Here's your anonymous poem. Are you lucky?
Thank you all for coming, and happy birthday, Danny.
Thank you, Bob.
I don't know, this must be anonymous, but there are ages that come and go, lands that vanish, seas which move. Time does not speak to us of these creatures. Time does not speak to us at all. It is heard that we are deaf. It would signal, but it heard we are blind. It would do a song and dance, go the extra mile, give us the whole 9 yards, but we are not at home anymore in this world, and time knows it. That's why time is going its own way now, leaving us to ours. If we were wise, we'd take heed, ask after it. But we aren't wise, that is, so we won't. And it's not as if we haven't, for the longest time, seemed to care not one little tiny bit. And now, well, now time has run out, and it's all on us. By the way, did you hear that fat lady singing?
That was mine. I had to throw it in there.
This is a character sketch. In the doghouse, working out in East Colorado's Eastern Prairie at Rip Griffin's truck stop. The job was $3 every one of 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you missed a day, you lost all your overtime. It could get deadly boring in the middle of the night. The wind was so fierce over the freezing prairie. It was 10 below zero, so all us drive hounds huddled in what we called the doghouse, which was roughly the size of a solitary confinement cell in a prison, but made of glass so you could see the big trucks coming in for fuel. 3 of us would sit there with the windows closed because it was 10 below outside. We had a small electric heater in there. We were all smoking chain cigarettes and weed all night, so it was thick as smog in LA in that little room. There was no escape. None of us were particularly bright or entertaining to hang around. Imagine the scene. Up through the powerful sulfur lights that lit the fuel islands, you could go into a trance watching big snowflakes streaming endlessly in at you, staring into that white whirling force. Old Steve Noah took a drag off his cigarette and let it slowly out through his nose. I was reading a book. Butler grabbed it by the cover and tilted it back to read the title, The Divine Mother. Aha, reading dirty books, eh? They snickered. I didn't answer. Noah hit off his cigarette. Butler yanked his cowboy hat down low over his forehead. This place is fucked up. He spat on the floor. I turned the page of my book. Noah sipped on his cigarette. The snow drifted in a hypnotic funnel. Butler kicked the heater with his cowboy boot and spun it around, swiveled in his chair and kicked it back the other way. Guess I'll go back to living on the streets up in Denver, rolling fags and knifing lots of people like I used to, he said. Noah leaned back and dragged on his smoke and stared into space. I looked up from my book to watch the white whirling snow streaming in from God knows where. It felt like it was running right through me. Butler tore the door open and made his way out of the doghouse, slamming the glass door hard and smacking it a few times with his fist, rattling the window, then trudged off to talk to the girls at the service desk inside. Nobody gave a damn. The oblivious spiraling flakes drove through the lights, through the night, through us all.
Thank you, Bob. Bob Dewhurst.
Richard Sanderell.
Richard Sanderell. Will the Sanderell kindly come forward? Sanderell.
Really? That's so soon, Vidal. Oh, come around. Well, by the way, while I'm standing here pushing around with this,
Your device.
the device, I want to say about the arts in the schools. Wow, I grew. Excuse me.
There's your anonymous piece.
Oh, yes. As you know, Kim Shuck is the new poet laureate, and one of the things she wants to do is get into the schools and start mentoring, because they've killed the arts in schools. So it's really up to us artists, as far as I'm concerned, as the last resort, to go in and start mentoring. If you're a musician, please try to get into the school system and see who's interested in help. Poets, you know, all the way across the arts, because like I said, they've been decimating it, and they've been killing it. So anyway, this is anonymous. Cosmic Orphan. I like that.
Cosmic Orphan.
Yeah. I dreamed that I stood naked before Fred and Ethel Mertz, who told me to stop watching so much TV and listen to more noise of the holiday methadone-addled poor, and see if I can catch a glimpse of a glimmer of a glint, of a shard, of a fragment, of a sliver of hope. Amidst the jostling for position of Jesus wannabes, dipping their fingers in bowls of digital holy water, while their collective flickering morality intermittently illuminates the compulsive saluting of Napoleon beat cops who were just doing their jobs they are hired to do, which apparently includes hassling the ever-multiplying numbers of cosmic orphans, who can only stare blankly at the overrated reality of mega-mall fascism and masturbatory politeness, their ears ringing with the hipster lingo of the day glow soccer mom, and the demands of infants to be taken off speakerphone. Their do-to list awash in reminders of updates their self-destruction before returning to the refrigerated apartments. When Fred and Ethel Mertz awaits somewhere in the world for every second of the day. And I'm sorry, because I know who wrote this, and the person who wrote this he would have had you on the floor. I just mangled it. With apologies, I'll still say anonymous unless the person wants me to say.
Thank you so much.
All right.
No, he's going to do his own promo.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Don't worry.
We're doing several things at once here, and it's not my fault. I'll blame someone else as best I can.
Follow me. Well, echoes in the canyons. They work, study as if there's a tomorrow, walk with purpose, whether there's a purpose or not. Importance of looking busy. Native people of Peru, Ecuador, play guitars, flutes, music that makes you weep from its beauty, joy. All this echoing in air, hurling through the chasm, reaching ears that can hear. A sax, a horn, drummer playing on plastic drums, bringing on the choir. Go to where the people work, speak to them, perform the story in language, music, dance. They won't come to us, we go to them. Tell them your truths through stories, poetry, sketches, scenes, music, singers. more theater of and from the street. We have no time for fooling around. Our world is having a radioactive and carbon meltdown. No decontamination here, no ice to spare. Well, I don't know if I have time to do all three, so I'll do this. The beast takes control. And so it continues. Some Christians are told, are in their bliss, hoping, praying the end times are here. They continue to believe that everything that's happening is all part of God's plan. They have all the answers. I'm still working on that. I defer to them to a point. They will not be dissuaded. For what our mother endures at the hands of the two-legged, black robes preach from their pulpits, it's okay to plunder the earth, rape her, but remember, all comes from God. That's why God's on our side. All this radiation, not to worry. God has microbes that will take care of it. Better hurry. The damage it has and continues to be done is not done now. I hope your God's not too late. What a mess. Who's responsible? You? Me? God the Father is not having it. A covenant was made between him and his believers. Your God gave you this planet for stewardship of all and on it and in it, and who broke it? The Father wants to know why more non-believers believe in this covenant than the faithful. The beast takes control. The great deceivers are amongst us. The beast is in rapture.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
We have Karen Melander Magoon.
And this is your random
anonymous.
poem. Yeah, your anonymous poem. Give her a round as she comes up here, and then after her, it's me. Oh my God, I'm not ready.
Dan, our man. So glad you were born into a family that honored creativity. So you can make a family out of us poets at sacred grounds. Dan, Mr. Poetry, San Francisco, plus a friend to us all, married to Queen Wendy, whose graciousness we all love. Happy birthday, dear Dan, and many, many more. Love and happy birthday from Sally Love Saunders.
Thank you. And now,
Okay,
she's going to give us some of hers.
yeah, this is, I
Get really
really,
close to the
after Charlottesville, I'm painting a picture of kind of pre-tragic Charlottesville, and I had these big questions I've had all my life about what the heck was Robert E. Lee doing? He had the choice of choosing one side or the other. He was a very respected, and he was offered to be, he could have been Brigadier General for the Union or for Richmond, for Virginia and for the Confederate. And so I still haven't figured it out, but that's a little bit of this. And it's gentle. I just really never figured it out. Charlottesville, once home to James Monroe, to Thomas Jefferson, viewed from Monticello on its mountain perch. Charlottesville, opening into the mountains and valleys of Shenandoah. Charlottesville, August 2017, scene of hatred, scene of bigotry, scene of death and murder by white supremacists. Charlottesville shudders in its newfound identity. General Robert E. Lee, his statue targeted for removal, never approved of such monuments, saying that monuments to heroes of war merely protract the wounds, delay the healing. General Lee had no slaves, but freed those of his father-in-law at his direction. In 1862, 1 year after the war began, Lee would deny white supremacy, himself a Confederate general, but a believer in justice and the equality of human beings. He himself ultimately rejected slavery. And the hatred left as a residue of civil war, one asks only why. He led the Confederacy in war, garnering accolades as a great general if he believed neither in secession nor in slavery. What irony that his statue became the trigger for the violence and hatred he feared as a result of creating monuments to heroes of war. What irony that he became a symbol of bigotry because of the path he ultimately chose to stand with Virginia and fight for the Confederacy. A war whose aftermath endured, whose phoenix of hatred rose again in Charlottesville, only to ride on the shoulder of the resident of our White House, a president who has covered himself in the ashes from which that phoenix of hatred rose again.
Still haven't figured Robert E. Lee out. Well, there you go. All right, this is floating. It's kind of a, okay, it's for Dan, but it's existential yearning. Okay. It is time to take time out to imagine a perfect place in our own imagination. Where will you go? I will float on a cloud. I will lie in the daisies. I want to swim in the sky. I will sit in a flower like a bee. No, like a pixie. Will you smell the flower? Yes, the smell makes me sleep. Sleep is another world where birds carry me through the stars to the moon. Is it blue? Is it red? It is all colors and none. It is like a rainbow full of light and existential yearning. So I wrote this and these poems in this book, and I'm going to give you this book, Dan.
Thank you so much.
These are poems that I wrote while working with some people with Alzheimer's, while working with the aged, with elderly, at 3 different places, all called Aged Song. And it's dedicated to Nadia Shamayangi, who started this whole program. And so the poems in here are ones that I was working with people. Partly they're really my poetry, but they're partly ideas that they were giving me. Or I say, imagine an animal in a zoo, or pick something and weave thoughts around it. And so we did some of these together. So anyway, it's called Time and Dreams and Other Poems for the Aged Song Community.
Thank you so much.
So I think that was enough, yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. Give her a round of applause, please. All right. So now I have to take the mic, as it were. Would you do me a big, huge favor and look at this and make sure that I'm in
the center?
Yeah, that I'm in the center, because I can't see the mic.
Okay.
Move it before how's that?
It looks good, except the very top of your head.
Oh, okay. To you, happy birthday, dear Dan. Happy love are you. Is that my name? Thank you. I see so many happy faces out there. I'm so glad to be here. And I promised a few unusual things, so I'm going to start off with an unusual thing. It's a song. Now, I hope I can remember because I didn't have time to practice it. But anyway, so this song originally came out early 60s, something like that. And then when Bush became president, I sang it because it applied to him. And by gum, it applies now. So let me, it's called, if you know Randy Newman, Political Science. Okay, now, if I goof it up, I'll probably just stop in the middle, okay? No one loves us, I don't know why. Lord knows we ain't perfect, but heaven knows we try. But all around, even our old friends put us down. Let's drop the big one and see what happens. We give them money, but are they grateful? No, they're spiteful and they're hateful. They don't respect us, so let's surprise them. We'll drop the big one, pulverize them. Now Europe's too crowded, Asia's too old, Africa is far too hot, and Canada's too cold, and South America
stole our name. Let's drop the big one now, but no one left to blame us. Won't harm Australia, don't want to fry no kangaroo. We'll build an all-American amusement park there. They got surfing too. Then boom goes London, boom Paris. More room for you and more room for me. And every city, the whole world round, will just be another all-American town. Oh, how happy we will be. There'll be Italian shoes for me, Japanese kimono for you. Baby, we'll set everybody free. They don't like us anyhow. So let's drop the big one now. Let's drop the big one now.
Boom. I did forget a word or two in there, but you appreciate that.
We don't love you one bit less.
Thank you. Does that mean you'll leave me one bit more? Okay, so I'm going to begin with this. It's a new poem. It's called It Grows Fonder, and the backstory of this is my brother John and my two older brothers both volunteered to go to Vietnam because that's the way they felt about things at that time. And Tom died over there in action, but John didn't. He came back, but then he died later on as a result of the chemical interactions of Agent Orange. So anyway, in your absence, John, I find space to fill, memories to question, alleged hints to mull, an attitude to adjust, and more. In a recent dream, I was in a large park in a picnic area, walking down an aisle between old-fashioned green picnic tables. It seemed like a reception. Everywhere there were knots of folks talking, and as I went along, taking in the view, I happened to see you sitting there, hands in easy fists set on the table, thumbs up, with a generous platter set in front of you, which you relished to no end. Sunlight on your face, you looked so much younger, and were earnestly talking to someone. Forgive me now for not saying hello, and forgive me for all I may have said or done that wronged you. You passed 6 months ago, and today, as I strolled on my way home in a favorite pair of raggedy old blue jeans on a very bright, warm March day, I noticed the trees along my street as if for the first time. John, they are the exact same kind as those which lined our childhood street. The bark, its color, texture, and leaves, how could I have never seen this before? And when the wind came up, gentle, sweet, it was deliciously cool, just in those idyllic, summery, merry old days of yore. There was a shift in my world, as if a new center of gravity had gently but firmly clunked into place. I thought about history, how we were each other's heroes way back east, as we used to call it, one time or another, long before we lost touch and track over all those ages, before we were all too suddenly torn apart. I looked up into this memorial of leaf and branch, saw the radiant point glint amid shifting, verdant shapes, and it became something new. And so, to those of you receiving this, take heed now and then. Regard the touchstones of your life and do more. Respect the earth itself. Be kind to everyone you can, brothers and sisters alike. For we all pass along, never knowing when it will come about or how or why, with any one of a number of reasons being reason enough to take us each out. So when time goes, there are echoes, a pause in reality, not silence, not an absent, not nothing, nor a sense that less is more. Whenever we are reminded that we too will go, that our intimates will forget, as gaps open, spans stretch and yawn as they will when they leave, as their others forget them, who will then sense the slight pause, feel, see a shifting in the light as I did, be dazzled by that point of brilliance in which memories found me, both of us, John, together again, brave on a bright day eternal times ago, believing in brotherhood's faith. And I began singing through the heart of our minds, but in my soul I was still,
coolly quiet, as if of the grave, yet not surely that yet. But more so than I was a few minutes before, more than I will be a few moments hence, knowing that I am not yet freed of a burden I had forgotten I had carried. Thank you. And now, returning to current affairs. This is Mea Culpa, and I figure I can read this. I wrote it. I can read it, and because no one else is saying this, I can say this, and maybe that'll make a difference. Mea Culpa. I apologize for being who I am, what I am. That is to say, for being a man, being white, being colored by the lights others see me by. I offer my apologies for what has been done in my name, in my image, because of the nature of my kind, for the anger, the mistakes, the blindness, the horrors, the endless woe, the banks of abstract hate, the lack of patience, the lack of care, the lack of fairness, the lack of justice, the lack of hope, the lack of food, the lack of freedom, the murder, rape, and robbery, for the death and dying, the genocides, racism, and disaffected religiosity. From my depths, I apologize for all that and more. Even as I recognize, though through a glass darkly, the vast, dismal fields in those abyssal depths of revulsion I have at my own kind. And in keeping with the touching on the modern themes, this is based on a true story, and it's something that people like, so I figured I would just lighten up the mood now, right? Lighten it up. Send in the clowns. It would have been ordinary. By that I mean when the notorious VNN, Vanguard News Network, a skinhead neo-Nazi / KKK movement, organized a protest trying hard to work up a headline in Knoxville, Tennessee. It was a no-brainer. But this time they were met by the opposition, the 100th ARA, Anti-Racist Action, Clown Brigade. So it was clowns versus Nazis. Alex Linder, the Nazi organizer, kicked off the action when, incensed with white-hot anger, he charged into the clowns, who were probably mincing about, trying to tap dance in their big red shoes or busy blowing up balloons. He was dropped by the bag of filth, like the bag of filth he was, by 4 police officers who dragged him off kicking and screaming. Not to be deterred, however, the remaining Nazis chanted, "White power." White flour? The clowns cheered in reply. As some gaily ran in circles, tossing flour into the air, others raised up a set of letters to spell out, you guessed it, white, F-L-O-U-R. As yet unfazed, however, the Nazis again chanted white power, and the clowns stared, then conferred, realizing an error had been made, promptly cheered, white flowers, white flowers. As some tossed a myriad of floral samples into the air, others cavorted and disported with good humor, demonstrating a willingness to find common ground. White power, the Nazis tried to clarify their message. Oh, the clowns chanted, tight shower, tight shower. As 2 held up a shower head, all the others tried valiantly to crowd under it. After all, they were just trying to please. By this time, Nazi eyes were bugging out, their voices were hoarse, and a few were clutching at their breasts, trembling with rage. Imagine that. In a final attempt to get their word out, a few formed a line, stepped out in front, and with every mighty muscle of their so-called brains, every fiber of their bestial beings, they beat on their chest, pulled at their hair, jumped up and down to give it all white power, white power. At this ape-like display, the clowns seriously took pause, stared. It was a delicious moment. Oh, the women clowns said, wife power. As some grabbed the nearest male clown, hoisted him onto their arms, and ran about merrily chanting, wife power, wife power, wife power. Well, to make a long story short, the vaunted VNN rally never really quite got off the ground. However, the 100th Clown Brigade got great applause. And so it was that, after a while, everyone went home. Except Alex.
So sometimes it pays to read the news, my folks, my friends. I mean, I couldn't have made that stuff up, and I want to thank a friend of mine, Amber, who posted the link. The story certainly made mine. I hope it made you. So, this is a new piece, and he wanted me to read it a second time, so I'm going to read it here. This is based on a prompt, a poetry prompt, and it was about manners, proper manners. However, I took it in a different direction, as you'll soon see. Manners to mind. Mainly, if you're going to eat anyone's child, disguise it in a rich stew and never, never serve it leftovers to any of their relations, no matter how distant. It's just done. When calling names, always use correct grammar. It refines the mind, sharpens the wit, heightens many effects, and can serve to explosively enrage the target of your ire. Next, remember, no matter how much fun rage is, there is always the chance you'll lose control and so say, or worse yet, do something that leaves inescapable, incriminating evidence which speaks for itself. Bodies, for example. Obfuscate as needed, deny at all costs, or start a new fight if those options fail. Remember, distraction, misdirection, incoherence are reasonable tactics, and that the end always justifies the means, just in case you doubt that. If you must pass gas, surreptitiously move at flank speed to a distant corner of the room. Vent, and quickly but unobtrusively maneuver to safety, letting someone else call it. Never grope under the table at dinner time. The proper time is with dessert. Don't finger your cousins when your uncle hasn't had any. Puking is rarely acceptable, but when you do, make sure someone you detest or who is detestable gets soaked but good. Neither aunts nor uncles should put their hands down your pants. When stealing the family silver, implicate any morally suspect cuckold. Mayhem before murder, just as sex before identification theft. Letting go is good, especially if it's the only grip someone else has on a misspent life. Never pass up a good opportunity to misdirect, mislead, or manhandle. Beauty is only skin deep, but revenge is forever. Chance favors the highly trained and well-armed over the drunken and unwary. Sneaking is a life skill, so is profitable snitching. Implications leading to dishonor are all the sweeter if they are wrong. And last, all is fair in love and war and marriage, divorce, friendship, the workplace, or when implicating the witless or innocent to your own greedy advantage. Dear Ann Lander, thank you so much. And so I'm going to take us into a different realm here. This is a poem called Worlds, and it's originally inspired or written for Carlos, but it was written after he passed away. Carlos is the person on the lower right-hand side of this arrangement of photos there. Yeah, Carlos Ramirez. Worlds. Oh, my friends, there are worlds and good ones. Beautiful worlds so wondrous and full of marvels as to make one weep. There are worlds where peace is all there is. The nature is let to run rampant. The verge is rank and the skies and seas are full of life. Animals who see your soul's light with hearts innocent of fear or rage. There are worlds gowned in clouds of delight, graced with rivers of love, where ranges upon ranges of emotional peace rest under the glowing countenance of their moons dancing in their firmament. Worlds such as songs are made of, as epic poems might suit, where painters upon an overlook could gaze at a life's work set before them. Where God is happy. Life tame, and where we'd all be glad to be were we there instead of where we are, dazed and confused by our own earthly illusions. I say, forsake fight and flight, let go of want,
our past, histories, unending sorrows, poor, poor reasoning, and martial drums. Where there are worlds, this poor, poor scribbler asserts, no artist could hope to convey without a proper preparation. A long, long, restful life of enjoyment, a million-year picnic. Then they could provide a semblance of one such world. So it is that I tell you this is a magnificent universe, well made, and fit for who but us? Well, or those of our kind. It is like the mystical Ganges with its endless beaches, where each glowing sand grain is a full repository of galaxies strung like beads set in a glowing firmament of stardust. So, there are worlds. And then there's us. And our longing, our song, so profoundly deep and unending that even this grand universe couldn't possibly contain it, or so I feel. So I have two more, and silly or serious?
Yeah,
of course. Yeah.
Silly is.
Yeah.
Huh?
Silly is.
Silly or serious?
Silly.
So, okay, here we go. This is based upon the well-known Mary Poppins song, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Everybody knows that song. Remember that? Okay. Well, this is Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, POTUS. I saw that and I had to write the song. Other people have written similars, but this is my version. And I'll sing parts and say parts, just so you know. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Yes, it's ugly in appearance and something quite atrocious. When it speaks, it often shrieks with prejudice ferocious. Our supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Because he was raised as a jerk, he was always sad. He never ever had to work and so became a wastrel cad. Grabbing pussy, he was the joke since he was just a lad. As was anyone he got to poke. That's both huge and sadly sad. But then one day, he rose to fame one day. In taking all the polls, he became our Cheeto Prez, which sucks even as it blows. He's our supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Yes, indeed, the sound of it is something quite atrocious. When it speaks, it often shrieks with prejudice precocious. Our supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. He traveled all around the world, and everywhere he'd vent. He'd act a fool and we'd deplore. He ain't no clever gent. When dukes and maharajas tie their crime sprees up with tea, he tweets it as he sees it. Their squirming's all we see. That cat will never get his tongue, and he will always tweet away. Though he'd better speak more carefully, though it may cost him his dear life, even as he takes us with him, hell-bent on his way to global strife. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Yes, indeed, the sound of it is something quite atrocious. When it speaks, it often shrieks with prejudice ferocious. Our supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Just try to say it backwards, which is peasant, cystic, irregular, epsilocrepus. But that's really taking this too far. Last time, sing along, it's rich. Our supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. 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 He told me he loves that in a tweet. He said, Dan, I love that. He said, Dan, I just love that. And I said, tweet away, man, just tweet away.
Who was this person?
That's what I want to know, because he's just something that we don't even understand anymore. So I'm going to come, this is the last piece I'm going to do, and the piece is called Peace, P-E-A-C-E, not P-I-E-C-E, just so you know. Peace. It's wonderful. My mom used to say that. Peace, it's wonderful. This was just when she was really just about not happy with you. And that's the time when you would back away and do what she had to say. Anyway, she was very nice, actually. Just a joke. All right, peace.
create this once, and you created it 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, 1,000 million never-ending times. Peace is what it is between any two thoughts, any two breaths, any two heartbeats, a stillness. Peace is what it is between the dreams, the wants and wishes, a stillness. Peace is what it is when nothing at all is happening, when the air is calm as the gold of day settles into night's deepening hues, there is a stillness. Peace is what it is in this world when the soul is unruffled with a simple indrawn breath, providing perspective before you simply react, when you look before you leap, as it were, and you keep a stillness. Peace is what it is on a tranquil pond with reflections that mirror sky, until that first duck skids in or breeze wrinkles it, creating an impressionistic collage of green and blue sequins with a stillness. Peace is what it is when each step is a forward step on the path that lay easy before you, with a gentle wind at your back, and you walk along with the stillness. Peace is what it is when your quietude is like that of the new moons, as you're reeling with the inspiration of a lover's serenade, all on a lazy, hazy summer's night, and each clear, moving note is embraced by a stillness. Peace is what it is in harmony. It's the heart of the matter, and therefore all matter, of the universe, for all time, a stillness. Peace is what it is when you created, and being that it is all that there is, peace is a stillness. Create this once, and you've created it 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, 1,000 million never-ending times. Peace is a stillness. Thank you. Wow, it got hot up here all of a sudden. So we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to figure out how to pause this, and we have a huge second half, and we have cake because it's a birthday thing, and so we have cake. And we're going to hang out and talk for a while.
Any vegan cake?
Yeah, the vegans made it. There's vegans in them. Like my mother used to say, if it's tourist season, how come we can't hunt them? Anyway. Long joke there. So take a break. We'll be right back with you. And coming in the second half, let me just see here. We have Alan Harris, Bob Gordon, Marta from thousands of miles away, Hal Robinson, Haley. Where's Haley? Are you new? You're new? Whoa, we got a newbie. Okay, we're gonna really cheer you on here. And then we got Ed and Greg and Kevin, and then Wendy Walters, our mini. So it's gonna be a really great second half. Stay around, have a piece of cake, enjoy. And like I said, at the end, when I do the Dewar prizes, you can either take 2 books that's around here, or one of mine and one of them. So 2 books per person tonight. I'm just gonna be giving them away. We're gonna have a good time. Enjoy yourselves. Schmooze. There you go.
Maybe you should let it keep going because
Yeah, I know that's exactly my thought.
why don't you just turn down the sound and let it keep running?
I don't know. Hi.
No opening.
Yeah. Put your name right here. Oh, the cake is in the back, so just. Oh, okay, all right.
Wasn't peace its wonderful trademark expression of Reverend Ike?
I don't know. Well, I got it from my mom.
Yeah, she might have gotten it from.
Yeah, it's possible.
Are you writing about pastor? What's that? Yeah, I should too.